Jason, welcome to the Future of Work podcast. We're really excited to have you here today and looking forward to a pretty enlightened conversation.
I am too, Frank. Glad we got to do this. So looking forward to today's chat.
Well, Jason, you and I have known each other for a while, and I certainly know your company quite well. Let me give a little introduction for those that aren't familiar with you. And I'll start off by saying that I know your mission was originally to create workspaces that elevated people, and you've started from the inside out. And in 2013, you've co-founded Vari, who builds the popular Vari desk sit and stand desk sets that are used worldwide by over 98% of the global Fortune 1000. That's pretty amazing number overall. Since its founding, Vari has been recognized for its growth and innovation. SMU Cox named it Dallas's fastest growing business, and Ernst & Young actually named you Entrepreneur of the Year. So welcome, Jason. We're really excited to have you aboard and to dig into the future of work.
Oh, excited to be here. Thanks for that. Yeah, enjoyed our conversation. So look forward to sharing some of this knowledge and what we've both been through here on this journey. So,
well, between the two of us, as we were just talking, we have 120 years of experience. So my God, I mean, we've been around, the stump a few times, and do have a fair idea.
And we're still fighting the good fight. So we're
You
trying
bet.
to crack the code. So
You bet. Giving it a good try. But tell me, where do you see the future of the workplace going? And I emphasize workplace, not the future of work. That's a massive topic. But where do you see the workplace itself going?
yeah, so we think about it in probably three different ways. So the idea that there will be a workspace for people to come together for collaboration, for community, for culture, for apprenticeships, for learning is going to play a vital role as we think about the future of workspace. The idea of what that workspace looks like, is it flexible? Does it change? Is it a safe and healthy environment? Is it close to where people live? Is it used daily, one day a week, three times a week, monthly, annually, quarterly? That's still up for debate and is being worked through. Second thing is we see for people that can have that flexibility for the types of jobs, because maybe 50 or 40% of jobs would allow for some type of work from anywhere or work from home type environment. So I think you're going to see a lot of changes continue to happen in that space. And then sort of a third space that continues to evolve where team members can come together. It may not be a permanent space for a company. Maybe it's a co-shared space, co-working space, a flexible workspace. It might be a third option. But we do think the idea of people being able to have focus time is going to be important when they're working heads down on projects. But the idea that we're ultimately better together and working in a synergistic way is going to continue to happen. So those are kind of the three areas that we see continue to emerge and really change here over the next years ahead of us.
Well, it's funny. For about 5 years now, we've been saying that the next workplace facility, whether it's an office or a co-working center or something, should actually be built on a bike path, not on a metro line. That the way people move and the way that we work and the way we want to lead our lives is quite different. And I noticed one of the largest companies in our industry, IWG, put out a interesting article this morning in their UK newsletter. I read everything that goes on in the industry, and it was talking about the 4-day work week. And I'd read an article last night about the Chinese work week, which is 996, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. That's pretty much your standard work week. And I thought, well, if we go to the 4-day work week and they stick on the 996, I started looking at the differences in the way cultures approach work and workplace. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. Does the Western world fall behind by this new model? We talk about the Great Resignation and everybody finding themselves. Is this a productivity issue that's a losing battle for some of us and a winning battle for others of us? Globally, we all work, so we are one people in that regard. We're human beings. But what's your thought on the changes to the workplace relative to time and the value that adds or detracts? A 4-day work week reduces the value of the real estate that's being used 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week or 6 days a week. And that impacts the value of commercial real estate, which impacts yields, which impacts finance, which impacts savings, et cetera. It's a, kind of an interesting domino effect. So I probably confused the heck out of you, but what's your thoughts?
Well, I think the idea of impact and productivity are probably the two things when I think about work and workspace. And so entrepreneurs that in entrepreneurship, which I believe is the lifeblood of our economy. I don't know that that's encapsulated in a 4-hour work week or a 7-day work week. So I don't know
It's
that
both.
it's both. And entrepreneurship, in just like life, it ebbs and flows, and almost like seasons. There are times to reap the harvest. There's times to plant the seeds. There's time to recharge. And so I think about workspace really being flexible and absorbing and moving. And so we always talk about, should the walls move? Should the space move? As your needs and your times move, all of space should operate like that. It shouldn't be confines of that, just like your life. So you got to lean in when it's time to work really hard. And there's times when you do get to rest and recharge, just like in the normal time of day. So I don't look at it as it's got to be 4 hours and it's 4 9-day hours or 4 6-day hours. I think every business, every journey, every entrepreneur, every passion project that's out there is going to ebb and flow, and that there's not one perfect cookie cutter forever for the next 100 years out there. It's going to continue to ebb and flow. I do think the spirit of entrepreneurship, taking pride in the grind, taking pride in the work. I spent the weekend with my grandmother who just turned 99, and she talks about just the honor in it, working in the bomb factories during World War II and going in to serve, while her husband was overseas, and doing jobs that were needed to get back on the farm, to go back and be teaching these school children, to be leaning in on the community. Well, that's not a 4-day work week. That's a commitment to life and entrepreneurship and hard work. And so I think of society as finding ways to make those impacts. So where we can learn faster, leveraging technology, or being in a classroom, that's 24/7, how you can continue to learn. Well, we can make a positive impact and serve and volunteer or work in a workspace, like all those things. It's not just 4 days a week, and it's not just 6 days a week. It's a lifestyle choice.
It's interesting as we look at the great resignation topic and tie that into it. It's pretty hard to resign life.
Right.
So people are, though, demising their work week or demising their time into different sectors, it seems. And it seems to me, a little too much stop start. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I know you are too. And I always have a pad of paper or a phone with a notepad in it or something like that with me all the time. And ideas come to you, thoughts on improvement come to you when they come to you. And it could be sitting on the beach, it could be on a bus, it could be in any place, but you have to blend that. And I think that comes to the joy of work that you're talking about with your grandmother. That if we find things that we can find joy in as we work, that's really the key to the true work week, which is just being productive and looking at family productivity and things as important as corporate productivity. Is teaching your children any less important than making a sale for the company? No, it's infinitely more important to should be, at least to all of us.
Yeah, I think if you can maintain, like a book like Mindset, which talks about being in that growth mindset. So the moment that you're not learning, that you've shut down, that you're being tight and closed-lipped about something, like, all right, versus that remaining grateful, remaining optimistic. Can I find a better way? Is there a way to simplify this? Is there a solution here? Is there some way that I can make a positive impact by constantly keeping your brain and your lifestyle and leading by example for your children, for your spouse, for your partner, for your community, finding ways, leaning over to pick up the trash and toss it away, like do the work and just continue to move on. You don't need to ask for a thank you. You don't need a pat on the back. Do your job, kind of like the bumblebee, as the Stoics talk about. It's like we're all put on this planet to make an impact, to create amazing memories, to build healthy relationships. So how do you do that? How do you do that in work? How do you do that in your community? How do you do that in your family? It's not just sitting on the couch absorbing consumption and just ordering online. It's about getting out there and finding ways to do good things and make an impact. And if you can monetize it and do all this, the flywheel effect kicks in, it rises the tide for all of us.
No, I couldn't agree more. The amount of gray hair I have, or the lack of hair that I have, overall defines that a lot of people ask me about retirement. And I speak exactly what you said. I think we're all put here to create and produce. And the moment you stop being productive, you stop finding value with your life overall. And certainly you're not enriching the lives of others. Improving my golf game, which is beyond pale, is not a good life's ambition. In my opinion, at least, it's to produce and create. So I completely agree with you. It's funny when we talk about this and we talk about the Great Resignation. You're in a business that sees a lot of flexibility. You were talking about flexibility a moment ago, and your hands are going back and forth, back and forth. I just see you moving walls and moving things around to shape shift buildings from the inside. It's hard to shape shift those walls on the outside. That's a whole nother topic. But on the inside, you're constantly doing that. What do you think a corporate or a company's, large or small, ability to continually adjust itself, the way it uses its space relative to the business phase it's in? What do you think that has to do with the war for talent, with the keeping good people, and with this discussion about the Great Resignation that's going on?
Yeah, I think, as leaders of organizations, we are constantly in a mindset of we've really got to innovate or die. So are we going to leapfrog ourselves? Are we going to create a culture of innovation? Are the team members that we're surrounding marching towards a common goal to make a positive impact out there, but in a very entrepreneurial? So whether they're the CEO and they're the entrepreneur, or they're really operating as entrepreneurs and coming up with the next big ideas and solutions. And then what are the tools that they need to be successful? When do they need to collaborate and share those ideas? And that iron on iron happens when team members are ideating together and coming up with the next big thing. Where do they need focus time to just really do what Warren Buffett does every day, a deep dive and think and get into there and read for hours and figure things out, and then come back together and test these theories and ideas on the battlefield of commerce? That's what we need to be thinking about. We think about the tools that are accessible to our teams. So at those moments when they need to be together, and then as building owners, you talk about, we build these beautiful bones and structures, and then we literally rebuild the insides every 4 or 5 years. We rip it out, we throw it in the landfill, and just toss all this. It's like, can we be smarter about the eco footprint that we're doing here? Can we really create bones of spaces, these ecosystems that operate, be smart about the way we design our houses so that they're flexible over time, that we continue to ebb and flow and change them as needed, so that we can continue to be smarter about really the impact that we're having on the environment. So kind of combining all those things, but nonstop, pushing for innovation, because in that growth mindset, you're either growing or you're dying. And so for us as leaders, as optimists, whether we're in politics or whatever, like we're pushing for hope versus fear, finding solutions, innovation, and that allows us really to make a bigger impact and create companies and really elevate the entire world.
Well, I think you're right. I know when we first started building buildings back in the late 70s, early 80s, we chose a furniture system at that time. This is well before Vari was in existence, or I obviously would have chosen Vari. But we chose Haller Systems out of Switzerland. Okay. And if you're familiar with them, it looks like a bunch of steel tinker toys. And you can do exactly what you're talking. And we configured desks, conference rooms, management rooms. We had a kit that you had to break the stuff apart, put it back together. But we did it specifically. We chose that specifically back in the late 70s because it had that flexibility, and we knew that we would be changing overall. And it proved to be, while it was expensive to buy up front, it proved to be a very, very good value and bring us value beyond the furniture. That flexibility mode, which takes me over to you've made a comment in what you were just saying about speed. Speed is good. Filling buildings faster because you have the ability to move things around and therefore make them more efficient. We have a saying that it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. And we really try to practice that speed is good concept as a company, part of our philosophy. But how do you see that impacting corporations? And I know you have your own, I'll call them labs, co-working and business center labs. They're on a massive scale, um, uh, several 100,000 square feet of probably the industry's biggest test kitchens, if you will. What do you find that your own flexibility is in that space, and how do you use speed to change as a tool to improve the performance of the particular real estate group?
Yeah, as we were touring clients through our headquarters in Capel, which is just north of the Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and as they were walking through, and we had our electric standing desks and walls, and it was our headquarters, they would wave their hands around and go, "I want all of this." And what they were describing was the energy of the space, and they wanted it now, like snap your fingers. And so because our business model was built very differently than the traditional furniture model, where we're actually in stock and we've got 4 distribution centers. And yes, we said we're going to ship same day. And we kind of grew up not being from the quote furniture industry. That allowed us to have speed to ship out product. And they said, well, can you assemble it and space plan and design it? And these were things that I wasn't planning on doing. But again, just like every entrepreneur, you're listening to the pain points that your
No.
customers are going through. And they said, can we get to space faster? And so we were able to come in and install 25,000 square feet in a matter of 8 hours, because Dan and I joked that we wanted everything to be so easy to assemble. He and I could build something, anything we make, in 5 minutes. That allowed us to learn that we could assemble furniture and set it up faster. But every CEOs we were talking to, they would go into a white box space and they're like, why isn't this, I can't envision my product in here. So we started just testing the idea with a couple asset owners. One was Equity Office here in Dallas on a project, and we staged it. They would call it a spec suite. So we put our furniture in there. And the beauty was, because what we called it was, if they did evergreen tenant improvement, if they got the space ready, we could put our furniture in. The client said, instead of a 4 to 1,000 density, we want 5 people per 1,000. Well, our furniture moves. So literally they were able to lease the space faster, which makes sense. This is kind of building up to the logic of how we got here. Just like a model home where you see it staged, if Chip and Joanna get in there and make it look magical, I want the house as is, fully furnished. And IWG, and with their Spaces product, and WeWork and others, recognized through co-working that people wanted furnished spaces. So we recognized it early on at an enterprise level. But because the market was so hot out here, it wasn't as obvious what was going on. So we decided to buy our own building. So we bought a building that had been empty for 6 years, really invested in the tenant evergreen improvement. So it really is done. Like we said, we're going to polish all the concrete. We're going to put the lights in. We're going to get the spaces ready. So in a matter of just days, a client can move in. Well, this is a 400,000 square foot building, and we leased it in less than 1 year, fully furnished. And the way we figured out with VeraSpace is that we could have 3 to 5